Hello and welcome to the 50-cent tour of Tuesday, May 14th, 2013. It's a beautiful day where I am. Hope it's a beautiful day where you are. Please find a seat on the Liberty Bus and we shall begin our tour and see what we shall see. Nasara, this is really just kind of for fun. Inside the Paris apartment untouched for 70 years, treasure trove finally revealed after owner locked up and fled at outbreak of World War II. It's probably worth scrolling down and just taking a look, just opening your mind to what this experience was like of having to flee, and hopefully we will not experience this. I do want to just relating to the next link, Nasara still has this We the People, and as interim president initiate the orders of We the People. This is still at the top of Nasara. They're not taking this down, and this is meant to be taken seriously. And sometimes it's difficult for us to tell what's going on behind closed doors, where the real struggle is taking place. But I would not be surprised if this headline relates to the Nasara Post, Emergency G7 Meeting, Elite Ready to Pull the Trigger. Now this refers to what the rumored change in the financial system, the changeover to Basel III compliance for banks, and the revaluations of some currencies. Well, all that and the replacement of the Federal Reserve with the U.S. Treasury, which is the constitutional, Congress can, under the Constitution, can generate currency, create currency. Not the Federal Reserve. That is not constitutional, even though there was a provisional act. It was only in effect for 99 years, and that 99 years is up. So that kind of a change is in the works, lawfully should be in the works. So there seems to me to be reason for these people to be meeting to try to maybe collect their thoughts, transition into the next phase. If Obama goes down, if impeachment occurs, if the U.S. Republic is restored, I have no doubt that these people have a plan B, or who knows, it might even be their plan A. But we have the opportunity, as we all of us together become more aware and more vocal about wanting a constitutional republic, and as we pray and God hears our cry for release from oppression, we will find release from oppression. So whatever their plans are, Psalm 2 is about plans against God and against His anointed, and He who sits in the heavens laughs at those plans, so we don't need to feel threatened. Google becoming the eye of Sauron. Catherine Albrecht was on InfoWars yesterday with Alex, and this is the 42 minutes when they were talking about Google. This is actually well worth watching and listening to. Some ideas were stated that I had not considered before, one being that Google crafts their search results based on your past history as far as they have been able to track you. So the search results that you get as a Liberty person might not be the same as someone else. So if you've Googled something and you found clues or information or whatever, and you say to somebody else who's not a Liberty person, hey, just go Google it, Google may not return the same results to that other person, and they might not see what you see. So that's a great argument for using Start Page. And there's just some really good information in this interview. Biotech's next big disaster, well, it has to do with seeds that have their own, seeds that are coated with a different pesticide. And this is Monsanto and GMOs are just disaster layered upon disaster layered upon disaster. I think we all know that. Just we need to continue to remember it. And as I implied or said yesterday, even if we had Nasara, if we had a restored U.S. constitutional republic, if we got rid of the Federal Reserve, we still would need, mostly by our choices, our purchase choices, to get rid of some of these nasty corporations like Monsanto. So here's just another interesting article about Monsanto. U.S. tax dollars promote Monsanto's GMO crops overseas. Yet another instance of how our money is funding this dark agenda. And however we can, we need to remove this funding of this dark agenda. I don't want it coming out of my pockets. I'm sure you don't want it coming out of yours. March Against Monsanto on May 25th. You've all probably heard of this. I haven't mentioned it on the tour before, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware of that. International Baby Factory raided. The Vatic Project, I love the depth that they get into here, and this was just a remarkable thing to find. Recently, the so-called Lord's Prayer was translated from Aramaic directly into English rather than from Aramaic to Greek to Latin to English. Accordingly, this version might be closer to the original in that Aramaic was the language of Jesus and the disciples. So this is an interesting rephrasing of the Lord's Prayer, and I just happened across this with the issue of the baby factory. This just happens to be in the text of the article. So I haven't had an opportunity to ask any of my scholar friends about this or do any kind of research on it, but it rings true. I find it moving. But this article is not about the Lord's Prayer. It's about International Baby Factory raided. And in Nigeria, there has been a place where they've held very young teenage girls basically as prisoners, slaves, whatever you want to call them. And they have been made pregnant by the same 23-year-old man. So this is essentially a baby farm, a baby factory. And these babies are being sold. Illegal adoption schemes for up to $6,400 each, and as mentioned above, some were even sold for body parts that are then used for ritual purposes. Well, sure, ritual purposes and, keeping wealthy people alive with transplants probably. And at some point, there was even I think it was a Sherlock episode that showed a very wealthy man who paid for orphanages or some kind of help organizations in Africa, and the people who were sheltered there, if they had rare organs, rare tissue types, they would be chopped up and sold. And that's a work of fiction, but these things really do go on in the world. And human trafficking isn't all about prostitution. I mean, human trafficking can be people sold for parts. It's unbelievable to think about, but here we find ourselves. Can justice come? As long as there are enough people who feel guilty about their own lives, or have participated on one level or another with white slaves, prostitution, whatever. It's difficult to get guilty people to make convictions. But, look at this. Jury convicts abortion provider Kermit Gosnell of murder. So it does feel as if a tide of justice might be beginning to flow. Hopefully that is so. Hopefully that tide has turned and we will begin to see more justice. And, it never hurts for us to cry out on behalf of those who are oppressed. We are struggling against tyranny in this country, but there are always those who are more oppressed than we are. And if we can be looking out for the children, Jesus said about the worst plight that he ever mentioned would occur to anybody was that which would occur to children, and to those who injure children. So if we can be defenders of those who can't defend themselves, we are in a good place. The Forbidden Cures, banned in America. Cancer, the Forbidden Cures. I have not yet watched this documentary. I stumbled across it. I'm very curious about it, and I thought I would put it out there in case you might enjoy learning about it as well. Research links music to increased immunity and better mood. I think that maybe we didn't know increased immunity, but there definitely are times when just listening to music kind of is a little mini revival. I've experienced that pretty much on a daily basis. So, it's great sometimes to turn off the TV and turn on the stereo. Might give that a try. Do-it-yourself device eliminates pathogens, may serve as an alternative cancer therapy. I have been aware of the zapper. This is not that. I know that Royal Rife had used some kind of a machine. I don't know if this is along the lines of what Royal Rife invented, but there's actually information in this article, and there's a link here. The original complete instructions for building this device and using it are available on a downloaded PDF. So the PDF is actually here, if you're curious. A first aid kit of the future, the Beck protocol. And this man did not want to make money from this. He wanted to make it available to everyone for free. And I put this here for your consideration. She who will walk in the dark appreciates your company on today's tour. The dawn is coming. Weepy may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, insist on liberty, and take care.